Your personal brand starts with how you're continuing to fuel your body and fuel your mind. And so if you change the diet of the mind and you change the diet of your nutrition and you start improving the overall brand, everything changes. Absolutely everything. Relationships, personal confidence, competence. If you've been hiding behind the same profile photo for 20 years or 30 years in your glamour shot, your brand is suffering. And it's not about vanity. It's not about, how good you look. It's about how you feel. And when you feel beautiful, when you feel handsome, when you feel competent, when you feel confident, you get more people attracted to what you have to offer.
Hey y'all, welcome to Selling with Social, the podcast that helps marketers increase marketing qualified leads, sales reps to shatter sales results, and sales leaders to grow as leaders. Each show, we interview sales, marketing, and social media practitioners, leaders, and influencers to help you connect, close more deals, build stronger relationships with clients, and improve your sales productivity. I'm Mario Martinez Jr. You're now listening to Selling with Social. Today's guest on Selling with Social is David Bush. I am super excited to have David on the show here today because not only is he a nationally recognized coach and motivational speaker, but he actually works with professionals just like you and I to help reach our peak performance and generate extraordinary results. He has a very interesting story that you are going to love and we are going to drill down to today. Not only was he an All-American collegiate athlete, and does he have his degree in mass communications and actually pursued a professional sales career, but in 2004, he actually pursued another one of his life's dreams and became a peak performance coach. And now he is a nationally recognized leader in the coaching industry and has passionately led the way for those who wish to succeed in both life and the marketplace. Please help me welcome David Bush to Selling with Social. David Bush, I am so happy that you are joining me today on Selling with Social podcast. This actually topic that we're going to be talking about today is going to be pretty interesting for our entire community who's listening, sales, marketers, enablement, leaders. And I'm excited to have you because not only are you a business owner, an entrepreneur, but you are a speaker, a coach, and today's topic is going to be fantastic as it relates to health. A healthy body, a healthy mind equals a healthy business. So, David Bush, welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thank you so much, Mario. I'm definitely not going to do normal today, buddy. I've been waiting for this. This is an awesome opportunity. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So listen, do me a favor. I kind of gave you an introduction, but tell our audience a little about yourself.
Well, I grew up as a kid that loved to play football and wanted to be a professional football player. So I chased that dream, even though I came from a very, very small school, played 8-man football back in high school, and got a chance to go on to kind of wield my way into a college scholarship at the University of South Dakota. And ended up becoming an All-American, and then went in my first sales job, Mario. This was before social, but it was my first sales job was to make a list of every NFL football team, every Canadian football team, and every arena football team, world football team. And I just started dialing for dollars. I was smiling and dialing, trying to sell myself to the world of professional football, and being a somewhat underdeveloped player that didn't have a lot of great coaching and just had a strong passion and a strong work ethic. I was able to find my way into the Arena Football League and was able to play a thing called arena football. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
yeah, absolutely. Very familiar with it.
That was my first sales job. Played 4 years there and ended up suffering a career-ending lack of talent, and had to move on into the world of professional selling, which I knew at some level I was going to be in that career. I was a person that had the gift of gab and loved to work with people and help people. So spent 10 years in the home mortgage industry, became a part owner of a mortgage company, had 10 years experience and had 17 offices in 3 different states. And then I decided to go follow another dream, which was to become a peak performance coach to entrepreneurs. And that was something I ended up going into in 2004. And I've been coaching entrepreneurs and sales professionals to raise their level of performance ever since. And have had a chance to write a few cool books to help kind of document some of the strategies and principles, because I've been a student of the game my entire life, just as you have. And, success leaves clues. So I'm excited to share some clues with our audience today.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, we're definitely going to get there for sure, especially some of the things that you've accomplished in terms of your writing and the books and whatnot. So before we go there, tell us, first thing you did this morning when you woke up.
Guilty as charged. I post something to social media. I'm addicted.
I said this before and I'll say it again. I think someone, somehow, some organization needs to come out with a social media anonymous program, because I am addicted as well. The darn thing sleeps next to my head, and I fell asleep with the phone on my belly last night. So it's really bad. It's gotten really bad. But all right, so you posted something to social media. Very good. Tell us one thing nobody would know about you by looking at your social profiles.
Had it not been for me hiking the ball to Kurt Warner, he never would have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, because I was the offensive center for the Iowa Barnstormers that gave Kurt his doorway to the World Football League and then to the St. Louis Rams. And then history was made. And now legacy will ever be foretold that Dave Bush handed the ball through his legs, and Kurt Warner, in an awkward position, took that and ran it all the way to Canton, Ohio.
I love it. So I actually played center in high school and became all-league center. So I know what you mean in terms of giving people that start, and really putting your hands in between someone else's legs and supporting what you need to support to be able to get that ball.
I always wonder who came up with that. I mean, was Bill and Jack just standing around and the coach was like, "Hey, Bill, why don't you go up underneath Jack and put your hands someplace they shouldn't be?" But it was always comfortable. I don't know why, but after playing for 12 years and in football, it just became natural. And ever since, I've never done it once since I got out of football.
I love it. So Kurt Warner, so you were actually the offensive center, and Kurt went on to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. That's amazing. That's awesome. I don't know if you keep in touch with him now, but that would be awesome if you do. I mean, that's pretty cool. Hopefully
he calls me and asks me for money every once in a while, but other than that, we're on pretty good terms.
Yeah, nice. Hopefully he doesn't forget the little people as he's gotten much larger.
That's right.
I love it. Well, that's fantastic, man. Today's topic, I want to talk about two topics. And really, the idea here is to really understand what it takes to be successful. And it's not just about selling and selling techniques and about marketing and marketing techniques and social media strategies. But there's something that's as important in terms of learning and growing and developing. And that is what we talked about before, which is a healthy body and a healthy mind. Because in my opinion, a healthy body and a healthy mind, they do equal a healthy business. And then I also want to spend some time talking about your book, the 28-Day Extraordinary Health Challenge, which I'm super excited about. And I think that it'll bring some good value to our listeners, if you would. So let's first talk about the book, the 28-Day Extraordinary Health Challenge. Tell us why you wrote the book.
Yeah, my personal journey started back almost 9 years ago. I graduated high school 327 pounds, so I was always a big husky kid. My parents said that I was kind of like a trash can, because you could step on my foot and my mouth would open and they would throw away all the leftovers. And when you're a big, strong kid and you play football and you're kind of supposed to be bigger, faster, stronger, I got away with it for a lot of years. But at the age of 35, father of 3 with 2 back injuries, being 310 pounds was no longer cool. And I was starting to feel the pain of, being unhealthy at a very deep level. I was starting to feel it physically, mentally, financially, the deductibles, the cost of, insurance going up because your health is not where it needs to be. I felt the pain, and a friend of mine had actually gotten healthier, and I was asking him about it, and he challenged me to 28 days of change. He challenged me to participate in a health coaching program that he had done. And he said, try it for 28 days, Dave. And I just challenge you to think about health in a different way. And once I got started that 28 days, 4 weeks, 28 days, it's kind of a good model to get started on something. A lifetime was too much for me, Mario. I just wanted to get that bump starter, that jump start, to see if I could actually make it a reality. And once I started feeling healthier, I started thinking healthier, and I started to see the results, it sparked another 28-day challenge. And so I took some of the principles that I picked up in this health coaching process and I put it into a book and just told my story. And I used the analogy of climbing a mountain and talked about the idea of the extraordinary health challenge is the concept of conquering your own extraordinary health challenge. Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary climbed Mount Everest for the very first time. And Edmund Hillary said, the reason why I climbed the mountain was not because I wanted to climb the mountain. I climbed the mountain because I wanted to conquer myself. And he conquered himself in the climbing of that mountain. And for me personally, losing 100 pounds in 2009 was my health mountain. And what it did for me professionally is what I'd like to talk a little bit about today, because I think that that's the thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be 100 pounds for people, but when they conquer health disciplines, Jim Rohn says everything affects everything.
Yeah.
And when you can conquer those health disciplines, you can really start to take your whole brand and your professionalism to a new level.
Wow. So 310 pounds is where your worst stop was, if you would. And how long did it take you to lose that first 100 pounds?
Yeah, it was a little over 6 months. It was
fantastic.
But I don't want to. Results not typical. Not everybody loses 100 pounds in 6 months, but I did. And my personal journey is that I'd had 2 back surgeries in 2008. I was feeling the pain of discontent. I was busted and disgusted. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I was ready for traumatic change. And not everybody's ready for that, but that's what happened to me. And I've seen many other people do the same thing when they're motivated and committed to make it happen.
Yeah. Now, let's put something out here. Not everybody has to lose 100 pounds, right? We're not talking about necessarily health, and a great example, I'm going to use myself. For those listeners who are listening, you can't see what David and I see right here in the same room, but I've got a fantastic looking several $1,000 treadmill that literally is down on the floor. And almost every person who's on my podcast says, "Hey, how are you using the treadmill?" But I'm not, right? And, I'm not an obese individual. However, that having been said, I don't exercise at all, right? And this shape that I've got, this good-looking shape, is just a natural good-looking physique.
But it's a sculpture. I love it.
Yes, exactly, the sculpture. So, but the point is we're not just talking about individuals having to lose a significant amount of weight. It may be just being more healthy. Talk a little bit about that in terms of just for people that are like myself. I don't do any exercise at all, and I'm 39 years old, and I feel it. I feel lethargic. I feel slow. I feel stress. And in fact, just last month, I started putting on my mouth guard because I'm now clenching my teeth and I'm grinding my teeth at nighttime, which is obviously as a result of stress. And there are a lot of people that are living in that same exact situation. Talk a little bit about that.
We kind of break down health into 3 different categories. It could be broken down further in terms of well-being, but there's physical health, there's mental health, and then financial health. And, for some people, their biggest problem is their financial health. They have 100 pounds of debt, or they have 100 pounds of cash flow problems, and that may be the thing that's causing them to eat unhealthy. So we try to take more of a holistic approach and really understand the problems behind the problem. So in physical health, obviously people, 60% of Americans are not exercising for 10 minutes or more per day. 70% of Americans are overweight or obese, according to the standards in body mass index. But we have a lot of people that are challenged physically, mentally, and financially. And what I like to try to awaken people to is just, in your own personal assessment, keeping it very simple. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extraordinary health, physically, mentally, financially. 1 being the opposite of that, right? Very poor health, physically, mentally, financially. What kind of a score would you give yourself? And most people, even if they're healthy or perceived healthy, like you, Mario, is they don't give themselves a very good score. What kind of a score do you think you'd give yourself if you were to score yourself today and be transparent?
Great question. So assuming you're using all 3 as an average, I'd probably give myself the physical thing is definitely an issue, a 3, a 5, a 3, 4.
Yeah, it's weighting down maybe some of those other scores. And
absolutely. Well, because it's at 0 right now, right? So
you're probably being a little too hard.
That's up here at a 10, but my health wise, after playing with my boys and wrestling around 1-6, 1-3, after 15 minutes, I'm winded and I'm tired, right? So, but that's not good.
Yeah. Well, the good news is you're just days away from being the healthiest you possible. And that's the thing I'd like to encourage people with, because in reality, I was 180 days away from being as healthy as I could be physically, eating healthy, exercising, being active, sleeping well, getting off of medications, that kind of stuff. There's a very short cycle before you can be back into the best game of your entire life. And that's the good news. The fact of the matter is, the bad news is that you got to start. You got to get going with it. You got to find the motivation and commitment to get going. But once you get going, and that's why I wrote the book, The 28-Day Extraordinary Health Challenge, was to get people going. Because once they got going, if they surrounded themselves with other people that were going, and if they had good support and resources, maybe a coach, personal trainer, mentor, group of friends that were getting healthier, then they would end up moving forward and continue that journey. And we're not talking about going on a diet. We're not talking about starting an exercise program. We're talking about focus. This is not about hocus pocus. This is a matter of focus. And what I would be doing with people like yourself, Mario, or other listeners, that I would be talking to them about why exercise? What is the benefits of doing that? And once we get really clear on the end, the means to the end can begin to be instilled into our day. But if we're not focused on the end and we don't know why we're starting that journey, oftentimes we get distracted and other things become a priority where we just delay the start date.
You said there were three things that you look at holistically when looking at improving health. It's physical, financial, and what was the third thing?
Mental health. Yeah, we call that the trilogy of optimal health: physical, mental, and financial health. And everybody may have a different definition. So if I was to ask you what the trilogy of health would look like, your definition would maybe be different than another person. But we're not trying to take every person and fit them into a box and say, this is what you should weigh and this is what you should be in terms of your mental well-being. But it's to sit down and say, okay, if you call yourself a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, what is a 10? What does that look like? And be descriptive. Write out, what are the benefits of being healthy? What are all the things that you could be, do, and have as it relates to your physical health? What are the things that you could be, do, and have in terms of your mental health? And for some people, it's, having more scheduled time for things that are important to them, or to take social media and put it into specific time blocks so they aren't feeling exasperated by the political rants on social media or whatever. So there's a lot of things that people can do to compartmentalize and to move towards their own optimal health and optimal well-being, but it's really up to them to clarify it.
I keep coming back to the health aspect, and that's because it hits closer to home for me. But most people don't know this. I was actually, I used to be 60 pounds heavier, and I lost 60 pounds. I got down to about 179 pounds, which was like the perfect optimal weight for me. And I gained about 30 back. I used to have a 42-inch waist, and there's a picture that's actually in my closet, hanging in the closet. I went out one day and I was doing a NASCAR race car experience. And that NASCAR race car experience, I had to put on the helmet, and I was 60 pounds heavier. And I put it in the closet, one, for as a reminder, but two, because all my friends make fun of me. Because that helmet, it went over my face and my cheeks popped out over the helmet. It was like I was massive. Like I couldn't even get into the helmet. It was very problematic. So in any case, I know personally I have a goal, and I would love to be able to reduce my weight by at least 30 pounds and get back to where I was, because I've got a whole closet full of clothes that I quite frankly can't fit into. But I know that this is necessary, and I know this is important, because with business comes a level of stress. With home comes a level of stress. With children, a level of stress. With spouse or significant other, a level of stress. And how do I release that? Well, I get these dopamine surges every time I get a little notification on my phone, right? A new email. And that's giving me that high. Like I get a high, get a rush. But that's not exactly the rush that I want. I need to get that out of my body, and I need to release that, right? So that's been one of my challenges. So I hope you can help me here with that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, putting it into a priority and making it to be a standard in your day. Once you know why you want to do it, it's a matter of putting it into your calendar in short little bursts. And what a lot of us do is we think that we know what we need to know. Have you ever heard somebody say, I know what I need to do, I just need to do it?
Right. Exactly.
And the reality of it is that maybe you don't know what you need to do, or you would be doing it. And that's hard for people to embrace, because they knew what worked for them 5 years ago, or they knew, this program works for me every time I do it. Well, if you're not continuing to do it, did it really work for you? Is there something maybe that needs to change for you to get a new kind of normal? And that's where we want to move people to the mindset that maybe there's some things that I need to learn about me today rather than what I used to know about me and what I used to be and how I got to where I am today. It's a little bit of a mind game, but that's why I say that it's really not about the food. It's more about how we're thinking that makes all the difference.
Yeah, good point. Well, that having been said, is a great segue question is really about barriers, right? So the biggest barrier people face when trying to improve their health, you mentioned one thing, it's they may not know what they don't know. Is that the biggest barrier?
I think that it's all a matter of perspective at the end of the day. Opportunity is now here is also spelled the same way as opportunity is nowhere. And oftentimes people look at it and go, I'm just too busy to get healthy. I'm just too busy to exercise. Well, how busy do you want to be? I mean, it's a matter of perspective. We all have the same 168 hours in a week. It's just a matter of how you choose to invest them. And if you feel like that exercising is an investment in you and that it's going to increase your sales, increase your performance, it's going to increase your brand value, because everybody, books are judged by their cover. If you don't like that, write your senator, but that's the reality of this world. And if you don't feel that you are your very best, it will show up. It will show up. And I had personal experience with that. I did motivational speaking as a 100 pounds overweight former professional football player and peak performance coach. And I did the presentation to the same people, 100 pounds less, a year later. And it was amazingly different in terms of the response. The response that I got from the audience and what they said to me afterwards was, you have changed, not just physically, but you can tell that your voice, your compassion, your passion for the topics that you're sharing on, it's changed because you've changed. So everything affects everything, Mario.
Yeah, I love it. You use the phrase, it's not about the food and exercise quite a bit, especially in the book, I think. What do you mean by that?
Really, I think that it's that whole saying that says, it's not about what we're eating that's the problem. It's what's eating at us that's the problem. And, sometimes we're taking in a steady diet of negative thinking. We're taking in a steady diet of I'm too busy, or we're taking in some negative thoughts that says healthy eating is not fun. Healthy eating is not something that's enjoyable. I love food. I love sugar too much. We're putting our own thoughts into a place that we have a hard time digesting them and actually making them a healthier us. So when we start to feed our brain healthier thoughts, we start thinking about health as a good thing rather than a bad thing. And we start looking for ways to have fun doing it. Living a healthier lifestyle. I'm a former 310 pound overeating glutton. I love food just like everybody else. But I also love a whole lot of other stuff, a whole lot more than food. And appetites, instincts, and desires, I don't want them to run my life. I want to run my life. And I found benefits and I found fun ways to be healthy, even when going out with friends and, celebrating. I know, just in our world, we have a lot of entertainment around food. Yeah. So if you take your clients out for dinner and you have a healthy salad and they have a double cheeseburger with waffle fries, how does that look to the person that you're entertaining? I used to think a lot about that. Now I could care less. I'm here to live my life to the standard that I want to live it. And if a customer doesn't like me because I choose to have one less drink or because I have one less bite of something, I'm going to be okay with dealing with that. And I wasn't okay with that when I was 310 pounds. I was eating to please other people, and that affected my performance.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. Thinking about three things sales professionals, sales leaders, executives, marketing leaders, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, what are three things that they can do right now to be better performers at work and at home?
First and foremost, I would say is to evaluate your personal overall health and well-being. If you are not as healthy as you want to be, getting into a little bit of an evaluation mode is like stepping on the scale. So you may not be overweight, but if you were to grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in the areas of physical, mental, and financial well-being, score yourself and evaluate where you're currently at. Second thing I would do is that I would craft a plan. I use a specific planning process, and I recommend it inside the book. But, coming up with a plan, coming up with specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-sensitive goals. You guys know this stuff. This is stuff that Mario talks about all the time, is the idea of performance is about having a good, solid plan. So have a plan. What's your plan for the next 28 days? I mean, if you were to start on the 1st of March or whatever date is the first of the next week that you're going to get going, what could you do in 28 days? What's a specific goal that would be meaningful and emotional to you? And then the third thing that I would recommend is to prepare. Prepare your environment, prepare your family, your friends. Let people know that this is something that's important to you. Some people want to do it all by themselves. They want to do it in private. But that doesn't necessarily work very well, because oftentimes it's our environmental factors, our social settings, our friends, our family members, our loved ones, our coworkers that invite us out to do things that are against of what we're trying to do. So if I was to keep it simple, I'd say number one, have a strong sense of evaluation of where am I today? Evaluate where you're at. Second thing, create your plan. Set a goal that's meaningful and emotional, that's going to move you to do the work that you need to do. And lay down the details. When do you need to do the exercising? When do you need to do the food prep or the things that you know are going to get you to where you want to go? And then the third thing is to have the partners, have the people around, and prepare your environment, whether that's, taking the junk food and putting it in a different drawer. My family wasn't ready to get healthy when I wanted to get healthy, so I couldn't just throw it all away like some people can. I had to reorganize some things and set some things aside and say, hey, this is where I'm going to be eating from. And here's the drawer that I'm going to keep my healthy options and keep myself out of the unhealthier environments.
So it's interesting. In the world of business, including those who are in the selling world, one of the things that we talk about and we teach in terms of how to be more productive is really developing a daily sales plan. Meaning, what are the things that I need to do today to be able to move ahead on whatever deals or opportunities, or to fill the pipeline, or to grow a relationship, whatever the case might be. And there's like 1,000 things that everybody needs to do every single day. What are the top 10 things that you need to do? Now, what's interesting here is when I make my list on a daily basis, I never include anything about me so that I can be a better performer in terms of servicing my clients and selling. So as a suggestion for those that are our listeners, when they make their list of all the daily tasks that they need to do, one of them could possibly, for me, it's really a better exercise so that I can have a better outlet for stress release and be more healthier. So instead of having item number 10, which is write one extra thing or do one more extra interview or do whatever it might be, item number 10 might be go run on the treadmill for 15 minutes. Start out small. What do you think about that?
I love it. Although I don't know if I would make it number 10, I'd probably make it number 1 as soon as I could and just get it done with.
Yeah.
And, our friend Jim Cathcart talks about just, putting something small in your way. So it might not be an hour on that treadmill behind you, but it may be 5 minutes. Or 10 minutes, and just make the verbal commitment to say 5 minutes a day, I'm going to be on that machine, or I'm going to be doing something with exercise and activities. Because if you lower the standard and you make it habitual, you're a performer. Most of the people that are listening to this podcast are performers. They're going to get the job done once they start. But if they never start, it just stays in someday off.
I love that. It's a great point. I love how you corrected that and said, don't make it number 10, make it number 1. Because it's really, you got to take care of you. You got to have that mental and that physical health. One other thing we talk about in sales as well is especially a sales rep working with their sales manager. And that's having an accountability partner. Right. So if I sit down with you today, you're my sales manager, David, and I say, we start strategizing and you say, what are the things you need to get done to be able to make quota or hit your number for this month or close out the quarter or close out the year? And I say A, B, C. We agree that A, B, C are the things that need to be done. Maybe there's a modification or two, but regardless, we agree. Now, as a sales manager, you're going to help hold me accountable to those particular tactics and strategies or in terms of execution. So this principle that we talk about in sales and that we utilize as leaders to coach our reps, this accountability partnership program, sounds absolutely no different on the being a better you and having a better health and mind and body for an individual. You've got to find those accountability partners. You've got to be able to talk to those accountability partners. You got to ask them to hold you accountable. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And oftentimes people look at it and they, look at it as another expense to be able to have a personal coach like myself working with them, or they look at the idea of, I can do this on my own. But the reality of it is you can't. Most people cannot sustain habitual commitment to something that's painful to them. They need to have some sort of community of support around them. And oftentimes that can be an accountability partner. But if that person doesn't show up because they're not being paid to show up, then maybe you don't have that same level of performance. And that's where having the partnership with a professional is going to take things to another level and keep things on track.
So let me translate that. One, you could find those that are your trusted people and friends to help assist you with the business aspect on accountability. And two, you could contact David Bush, who will be your accountability partner. And since we're paying you to be our accountability partner, you in turn are making that, whatever it might be, daily email, daily phone call, weekly message, whatever it might be, that's going to help remind me to get on. And you're going to hold me accountable. If I say to you, which by the way, it's 1:36, David, by the end of the day, I'm going to get on that treadmill for at least 15 minutes to do some walking and some exercising to release. You're going to call me up and say, did you do it? And if I say no, you're going to say, stop what you're doing right now and get on it. Yeah? Am I right?
That was what happened for me, Mario. I mean, I'm not here to, tell other people that, to do something I didn't do, but having somebody hold me accountable and ask me the question, how did you do this past week, David? What did you learn? And that was another part of it. It wasn't just strictly accountability. It was, what did you learn in that process? Or what are the barriers that you faced and how did you overcome them? Because I'm confident that there's probably some barriers in each and every one of our lives that we need to overcome. And if we just simply go out there and just do the food and eat healthy and exercise, and we haven't really understood what were the barriers that got us to where we were, we're just on a diet or we're just doing an exercise program. And 90% of exercise programs are done in 12 months or less. Yeah. 85% of people that go on a diet without behavior modification coaching gain the weight back within 2 years of losing it. So sometimes it is accountability only, but most of the time I found that it's accountability, education, encouragement. And at some level, people think, well, I just need to lose 30 pounds. And I ask the question, well, how are you going to achieve that? Do you know how many calories your body needs to burn off 30 pounds of excess fat? Or are you just going to diet through losing water weight? I mean, part of this is an awakening to, I really don't know what I'm doing. I need to have a little education, and health coaching or personal training and those types of things can help.
Well, I guess you just made me think I don't know what I'm doing. So this is awesome. It's good.
Well, think about most Americans have, some 10 pounds to lose, right? I mean, just think 10 pounds is a pretty generic number for people, but 10 pounds is 35,000 calories. 35,000 calories. You know how many calories an average person would burn if they ran a marathon, which is 26.2 miles? That's a marathon. How many calories would they burn in running that marathon?
Oh, geez. You got me. I have no idea.
3,500 calories.
Oh,
3,500 calories. And that's running. So we'd have to run, what's the equivalent of 10
marathons.
10 marathons to burn off in excess 35,000 calories. So if we're taking in, let's just say we're taking in 2,000 calories of nutrition and burning 2,500 calories, we're going to lose about a pound a week. A 500 calorie deficit per day is about a pound a week. Well, that's 30 weeks, Mario. If you want to lose 30 pounds, it's 30 weeks. If you want to crank that up a little bit more and burn 1,000 calories extra a day with more exercise and more control on your nutrition, well, now we're talking about burning that in 15 weeks, right? So we have the potential to learn how this is going to be accomplished, but we can't just go out there and recklessly just start running on the treadmill and starting to eat healthier. It starts with having clarity of where we want to go, why we want to go there, where are we at today, and then do we have a long-term plan, not just a short-term diet or exercise program?
What you just described is what I would say falls closely in line with the hashtag that we utilize on social all the time, hashtag don't do normal. Because, man, that was an education process that I hadn't even thought about or gone through. So simple math, but the normal course of action is, I need to be better, I need to be more healthy, let me just go exercise at the gym. Yeah, but okay, if you're popping that Snickers in, or if you're drinking a bunch of coffee with a bunch of cream and extra sugar, or maybe you're stressed out all the time because of what's happening at home, or maybe you're stressed out at work, right? Like there's some things that are going to add to this formula here that it won't necessarily work. So I love how you just applied what we talked about, don't do normal, into the actual setting of being healthy.
Well, here's another one, and this is, we'll transition after this, but if you lose 30 pounds, your body weight is less and you're burning less calories, right? So you have to sustain that change and continue to eat healthy and exercise and have that balance of calories in, calories out. Because if you don't, if you start eating 300 calories more than your body's burning every day for a full year, you've just gained back 30 pounds in 12 months because you were over 300 calories. And 300 calories, I can almost, sniff bread and get 300 calories. So 300 calories is not that much. It's a couple of pieces of candy, or it's a little bit of stuff in the break room, or it's a little bit, maybe an extra beer or two, or extra glass of wine and a couple of snacks at happy hour. There's a small little thing. And I'm not saying you can't have those things to live an extraordinary life. I'm saying to be in extraordinary health and to be at your very best in your sales performance or your marketing performance and be clear-minded, health has to come into balance. And hopefully we transferred that today.
Wow, that's awesome. In your personal practice, you offer personal health and lifestyle coaching programs, which we talked about earlier. And but for those who are interested in learning more on how to get support and they need somebody to help them, tell us more about how that would work. How would they make that happen?
Yeah, basically, if they reach out to me at our website, ehealthcoaching.com, and you can find that in the show notes, they can learn a little bit more about what our program offers. But really what we start off with is just a conversation. Talk about health goals, talk about barriers, talk about what you've done before and what you're wanting to do at this point in time. And then we craft a plan. We share an idea of this is how a plan would work and to get very predictable outcomes. And we're not about just dieting or exercise programs and just writing up a nutrition plan and writing up an exercise plan. We're partnering with you as a way to create health in your life. And we're going beyond just the idea of weight loss and, getting back into good shape. We have a program that basically guides people through the process of learning how to create health in their life and what that means to them. And all the details can be found on the website and through a personal conversation. But complimentary consultation for anybody that would like to just explore what it means to create extraordinary health in their life.
I'm thinking of something here, and I'm shooting from the hip here, David, but I'm thinking that it would be awesome if we could have some sort of sales health challenge for all of our listeners. We've got, tens of thousands of people that are subscribed to our content. We need to figure something out, my friend. And
I love it, man. We've got the platform. I've actually guided a couple 100,000 people through our online challenge. When I wrote the book, it was more of a paper and pen strategy because many organizations would have me come out and speak to their sales staff and their marketing staff and all their employees. And having technology wasn't the easiest thing to hand out to everybody because everybody was on a little different platform at the time. But now we have the phone app and we've got the ability to do it on computer where they can track their habits and earn points. And again, it's not about losing weight. It's more about learning how to live a healthy lifestyle. So I'm all about that. That might be our new announcement next time around.
All right. So for all of our listeners, I'm going to work with David on something. And I think what we'll do is we'll add on some extra instructions to the show notes of this podcast here. We'll put something together and I'm in it. David, I'll join because
I love it.
I got to do something and I know I need to do it. And I want the thousands of folks that are out there to be healthier, to feel better. And I knew something was awry when, a month or so ago or 2 months, I started clenching and I started, grinding my teeth again. And I started waking up with a sore jaw, my teeth feeling like they're like porcelain, right? Because I'm just gritting all night long. So when I had to go back to the mouthpiece, and I haven't worn the mouthpiece in years, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. It's been years. So we're going to put it in the show notes. We're going to add something. And I want everybody who's listening to this podcast, I want you to join up with me. And we're going to do a sales health challenge. I don't know what it's going to look like, but we will put it inside there. So we'll make that happen. Look, David, before we close out here, a couple questions. Number one, I always ask this question of all my guests. What are you reading right now to personally grow and develop?
Yeah, I'm reading the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. Great book. It kind of opens things up a little bit at a deeper level. And really challenging me on a mental side. I'm used to using the business and more of the sales and marketing type books, but this is one that's taking it to the deeper end of the pool and helping me to become a better leader.
I love it. Who's the author?
There's three of them: Jim Dethmer, Diana Chapman, and Kaylee Warner Klemp. But,
so we'll put that into the show notes as well, so that people can take a look at that. Do you recommend it?
I do, highly.
Yeah.
For anybody who wants to grow in their leadership capability and their ability to lead a dynamic team, that's definitely one. Even if you're not leading a team of salespeople, but if you're leading a team at home or family members, it really challenges the way you think of leadership.
Yeah, I love it. I'm actually reading a book by Lee Bartlett, the #1 bestseller. And this is actually a great, down-to-earth, raw and unfiltered discussion by a top-performing salesperson, a unique insight into really the mind, the strategy, and process of a top-performing salesperson. So I think this goes perfectly in line. Maybe we might get Lee to join up with our sales challenge. You might want to reach out to him, Lee Bartlett, and tell him, hey, tell him about this podcast, and
He's invited.
And see if he can join up with us. But I love it. One piece of advice you'd give to our community, sales leaders, reps, enablement, marketing folks who are listening right now to Selling with Social. What's one piece of advice you'd give them?
Your brand is king, and your personal brand starts with how you're continuing to fuel your body and fuel your mind. And so if you change the diet of the mind and you change the diet of your nutrition and you start improving the overall brand, everything changes. Absolutely everything. Relationships, personal confidence, competence. If you've been hiding behind the same profile photo for 20 years or 30 years in your glamour shot, your brand is suffering. And it's not about vanity. It's not about, how good you look. It's about how you feel. And when you feel beautiful, when you feel handsome, when you feel competent, when you feel confident, you get more people attracted to what you have to offer.
Oh man, that's great. I love that. And we talk a lot about not letting your brand suck, and that's more on the digital side. But hey, it absolutely applies. Now, the way that you just laid it out, it applies to your brand on the physical side. So don't let your brand suck. I love it. If someone wants to connect with you, ask you any questions, reach out. What's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, you can hit me up in my email, david@ehealthcoaching.com. That's David at the letter E, the word health, coaching.com. Or you can just visit our website at ehealthcoaching.com.
Can they connect with you on LinkedIn, Facebook?
Of course. Yeah, all of the LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that is available at my website where we can.
Awesome. I love it. 2 final closing questions for you. All-time favorite movie ever. What is it?
All-time favorite movie is Braveheart, without a doubt.
With Mel Gibson?
Freedom, baby. Freedom. It's what it's all about. And that movie in itself and all the different ups and downs, definitely Braveheart. But going on the lighter side, I am a Dumb and Dumber fan, and I quote it regularly. So don't hold me too high in your esteem. I do like some of that funny stuff too.
Oh, there's a great story about Dumb and Dumber. I watched it for the very first time. I have a friend of mine when it first came out many, many, many years ago, and he was in the hospital. He was suffering from a very tragic situation, and I went and visited him, and it was late in the evening. We asked for a TV and a VCR. That's when they had the VCRs back then. We popped in Dumb and Dumber. And I was laughing so hard at Dumb and Dumber. Some people don't like slapstick. I love slapstick. I was laughing so hard at Dumb and Dumber that the actual nurse and the charge nurse had to come in and say they were going to take away the TV if I couldn't stop laughing. Here this guy is on his deathbed, and I'm sitting there cracking up laughing over Dumb and Dumber. But I love that movie. It was.
It's a classic.
It's a classic movie. We won't get into the bathroom scenes, but
that was the one you were laughing at that probably caused the TV to be pulled away.
Oh my gosh. All right, good. And tell me your favorite motivational quote.
It's by Jim Rohn, and it's, if you fail to create your own life plan, Mario, chances are you're going to fall into somebody else's plan. And guess what they got planned for you, Mario?
What is that?
Not much. Not much at all.
I love it. Well, awesome. David, it's been fantastic having you on Selling with Social. Excited to have had you on the show, and I cannot thank you enough. This information really, as you think about how we can become better performers at work, as our peak performance, sales performance, really ties in not just in terms of sales methodology, not just in terms of learning. It ties directly back to how healthy are we, both in their mind and physical attributes, and in our family and our spiritual lives, whatever it might be, right? So they all tie together, and having you on the show really helps to pull that out of people, helping us to realize, me personally, that I've got to do something different. So I cannot wait to figure out what our sales health challenge will be. We will launch something. We'll do it. We'll have fun with it. And we'll bring people into the health challenge to help me lose 30 pounds. David, thanks so much for being part of the show today.
Thanks, Mario.
Thanks for listening to the Selling with Social podcast. I'm super pumped that you are our guest today. Here's what I want you to do right now. Go to jr.com/podcast and support our podcast, please, by distributing it out anywhere you can get it to on social. And don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes. You'll find all the instructions there on the site on how to subscribe to the Selling with Social podcast. Until the next show, keep on rocking. Mario Martinez Jr. out.